Hello! Happy holidays, happy new year! Another year, another list. I didn't make a video for 2023, but I'm back for 2024. I'll give my traditional introduction and then we'll just get right into it. If you want K-pop to be elevated into a realm of art rather than simply just that of consumerism, then you have to make room for criticism. Critical analysis of media and art is not inherently just punching down negativity. When done correctly, it's a discussion focusing on aspects that make up a whole piece. It's weird to think people need to like everything and that art, especially one so driven by consumer market, deserves a positive reaction just for existing. That's a hurtful mindset towards K-pop. Artistic merit doesn't reside within output, it resides within audience perception. We decide. That said, I'm not going to be extremely critical. I'm focusing on things I loved throughout the year. This is just my long-winded way of saying if you don't like my list, you are free to make your own list. Let's get into it.
놀라워 넌 언제나 예상 밖을 맴돌지 신기해 특이해 보다 앞서 사람들 사이에서 눈에 확 들어오지 예쁘다 멋지다 보다 갑져.
Number 4. Deary, BB. Oh, where do I start? Okay, so in anime, there is a character archetype or trope known as Deary Deary or just Deary that is being played with in BB's Deary. I am not going to get into it, but essentially, Deary characters openly display their affection and love for another character. And when I say openly, I don't mean every Deary type walks directly up to the character they love and say, I love you. The open part is to the audience. Deary characters have a clear motivation of love behind their actions and behavior, whatever that behavior may be, from acting the opposite to hide their feelings, or actively harming those they feel are hindering their feelings. In Deary, it is completely known to the audience that BB's character is motivated by a sexual love for another girl in her class. That's entirely what the first scene is setting up. It is not subtle. The entire video is incredibly straightforward and on the nose with its expressions of BB's love. She obsessively makes lunches for her crush, which she's not handing over, creeps on them in their kendo club, and joins her in the firefighting career track boot camp thing, even though BB doesn't want to be there and hates it. And we're all adults here. Well, I am, and BB is. Anyway, Deary is even so bold as to allude to masturbation with its imagery. And again, this is not subtle. I'm pretty sure the production wants people to make this association. There is a real sexuality at play here, and Deary doesn't want its audience to be confused or to misconstrue that. And it's one of the main reasons it's on my list. That shit is refreshing. While the English verses of Deary are a bit beat poetry word salad,
Compliment you when I find out that's lie and feels that you have power over me.
That's true.
the music video makes it explicitly clear the feelings and motivations behind them. BB's character is purposefully intense and a bit of a creep. She's scheming and stalking. Her life completely, secretly revolves around this other woman. In some ways, you could say she's possessed, reinforced by what is probably my favorite choreography of the year. We can literally see how BB is a puppet to her own obsessions and feelings, with moves that fluctuate between cute and, I don't want to say raunchy, but certainly more aggressive. All this snowballs into a final act filled with passion and heroism, if we want to overlook the fact that BB set the fire herself. I really love the commitment Deary makes to its storytelling, to bringing in a complicated interpretation of desire and actions, which is actually a theme we'll see again later on this list. Number 3, Howling, XG. Let's get it out of the way. Yeah, they're definitely doing a Princess Mononoke thing with some Akira thrown in for good measure. I am obviously a weeb, and I did catch on to those subtle hints the first time around. I am not, however, interested in exploring any of that, but I am aware that they're there. This music video is narratively one thing. One simple thing. Us versus them. You can affix nature versus machine to that formula, or environment versus corporation, or genuine self-power versus socially assigned girl boss. Whatever people want to contrast, they are welcome to. The particular details are not that important. Because the drive of the MV is straightforward and unmissable, the production gains the ability to be as messy and loose as it is, and I mean that as a compliment. It's obvious through its production choices and focus that this is a music video going all in on contrasting surreal imagery. The goal is to be a lot. And boy is it. Music videos in particular have always latched on to utilizing bold editing that would be too jarring or distracting or incomprehensible in most any other film projects, but do oftentimes eventually trickle their way down into generalized filmmaking. A good analogy would be how seemingly ridiculous high fashion runway trends trickle down and get diluted, eventually making their way into normal people clothing stores.
Here. It's a tough call. They're so different. Something funny?
XG, more than any other idol group right now, commits to their aesthetic concepts and never holds back or tones anything down, which feels as though to me that XG's music video philosophy has been all about embracing the elaborate trajectory of music videos as artistry, which, as we all know, is a direct offshoot of the contemporary video art movement versus that of narrative filmmaking. It's a history filled with video production that has a lot more in common with your Renee Clairs, Martha Rosliers, and Andy Warhols than your Scorseses. We all know that. Howling is a music video with an effect every second and heavy-handed but satisfying transitions with purposeful sensory overload. Even though fast cutting is dominated by the tempo, there is also no holding back on visual details. There's an active choice and effort to not just let the effects team carry these images. The different locations have detail. Shots are composed with intentional spaces, like a kitchen, a corridor, a city, a throne. There is definition to the spectacle, which is a smart decision given how detailed and intricate the costuming is. The members themselves are physically cluttered, even down to their teeth. A lot of the time, this style of editing is done to hide a lack in visual detail, but in Howling, the opposite feels deliberate. There's detail here that isn't concerned with being seen. And there is something transgressive about that, perhaps especially so when paired with the simple us versus them catalyst of the vid. All that said, this is gonna sound so crazy. All that said, what's interesting to me personally, speaking as someone who has combed through a lot of XG videos, is how reserved, comparatively speaking, Howling is to other XG music videos. If you know, or something ain't right, are far more freaky, transition-filled TikTok editor wet dream extravaganzas. Howling is a lot more straightforward. Which, it's still very excessive. But because the goal seems to be visual overstimulation in favor of the members' lavish, naturalistic costuming, contrasted against the cold gray of whatever this is, Howling relies on showing as many different types of images as possible while still not showing much. The quickness makes things oblique on purpose, except for briefly held moments of awe.
And now for something completely different.
For Burke, a sublime experience is indeed one that's really nice, but it's nice for a very strange reason. It makes us feel insignificant. Burke was obsessed with a range of experiences, that is, sublime experiences, in which being slightly humiliated is actually something we relish. He was picking up on a sector of human experience that up to then had been totally ignored. One of his key examples is storms. The vast dark sky is oppressive, the wind is horribly powerful, large trees are overturned. We feel we're nothing in the face of the violence of nature. But this helps put things in perspective. In comparison with a storm, the familiar irritants of daily life seem less significant. Something similar happens when we contemplate a huge mountain or view the enormous frozen wilderness of the Labrador coast from the window of an Airbus A380. Burke also liked vast, momentous stories. He loved Milton's Paradise Lost, which describes the cosmic struggle between God and Satan, because stories like these also make the irksome details of ordinary life seem for a moment almost idiotically minor.
There is an unknowable element to the idea of the sublime, and it feels like the goals of Howling are to tap into that mystery, not to expose it, but use it to entice. All that detail is hidden until revealed in punctuated moments, to draw people in with the sublime as power, with the members as the sublime. Which, in a way, makes the us versus them of the music video not a passive observational experience of the girls versus Super Sentai baddies, but rather these acts of sublime power versus us, the witnesses of them. Look, literally don't worry about it, okay? Like, it's fine. Moving on.
One look, give 'em whiplash.
Number 2, Whiplash, aespa. Whiplash is chic. I think we can all feel that, but what I personally find so compelling is Whiplash's kinetic editing. Okay, real quick, let's watch the first little bit together. This will be a lot of start and stopping as I can't talk as fast as the images happen, but this whole section won't be like this, I promise. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to say what's happening on screen, which is a little goofy, but dictating that is the most direct and simple way to bring attention to what I'm getting at. So, we have Karina, she's going to look to the right. At the right, we will follow that energy up. The camera will pan up as Karina cranks a camera up, and then she's going to turn that camera to the left. Think of that energy from that camera kind of like a whip. It's going to move to the left, and at the left, we will have Karina coming into frame. She will be leaving as well from the left. Let's go there. At the left, we have Giselle pulling in from the left or coming in from the left. She's going to pull this camera light also in from the left. The next shot's an interesting one because it seems like our energy has kind of reached its peak or as far as it can extend. Giselle will be facing left with the camera light, the big whiplash metallic sculpture in the back. Also angled and facing, I guess you could say, towards the left. Our energy is now going to switch. When Giselle came into this frame, or when we cut to her, she did a bounce with her body as though she was on a platform that suddenly halted or stopped, and it forces, your body reacts to it. Think of like an elevator. She's not on one. It's just a choice. It's just a decision. And it's an interesting one being made for characters or members, people on screen that aren't dancing. Why are they doing that? Well, it's to mimic energy, force, right? That kinetic stuff I'm keep talking about. Let's watch. All right, our energy is snapping back now. Giselle's going to lower her head and raise her shoulder. That energy is going to shoot out to Karina, who's going to react to it, put her hand out, tag someone else. And a joke or of interest to me and as an editor is it's Karina again. And the energy she gets is going to go back again to the left. It's cool. So when I say stuff like kinetic editing, I mean what it sounds like. This music video has been top to bottom organized for this specific editing output, the goal of which is to follow movement, energy, within barely related clips. Visually, the only thing tying this music video together is a white background, electronic-y metallic sculpture structures, and then predominantly the members' bodies. There is no story here to speak of, and there is no narrative structure. Like, I guess they're building some orb thing, but that's a MacGuffin. It goes nowhere and means nothing. As such, the only thing we're being given to follow is an invisible force rubber banding its way through this video, a force that is expressed through the production's deliberate choices in movement. Since the only thing we're following is the proverbial whiplash the song speaks of, the only thing that matters is the transference of energy from shot to shot. You can have Winter yoinking on a cord in contention with herself. You can have Karina filming herself punching the camera. The members, the order of their appearance in the edit, the costuming, the locations, it can change to anything as long as the visual energy is propelled forward and then back. That's the whiplash. Everything is being done to emulate the effect of a pendulum. It's clever, and more importantly, it's very satisfying to watch. Whiplash feels like it makes total sense, even though we're given literally nothing of substance here, and I love that. It is perfect. And even though I said it's perfect, to clarify, that's just what I feel about it. This is not a science, okay? There is not a literal flow of energy that can be exactly followed and accounted for within this music video, okay? I'm not saying that. I'm saying within Whiplash, the display and progression of movement is in every aspect intentional. That's it. They don't have to end by panning up with all 4 members swinging their arms so as to give off the illusion of halted energy, but they do. And that shit's cool as hell.
Whiplash, 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 whiplash. One look, give 'em whiplash. Yeah. Dear priest, 고백할게 있어.
Number 1, Ascendio, Ive. Come on. This really shouldn't surprise anyone. It almost feels like Ascendio. Ascendio? Dio? Fuck. It almost feels like Ascendio was made for me personally, as if my subconscious gave it form. I said in my Discord server of choice to all my friends the day this dropped, all the way back in May, it'll probably end up as my favorite music video of the year, and here we are! Although Whiplash does give it a huge run for its money. I've revisited Ascendio constantly throughout 2024, and it's never gotten boring. And I think, for me at least, that's because it's a music video with a visually precise narrative. What I mean by that is Ascendio can be followed even if you watch it on mute, which is not as common as perhaps you'd think in the world of K-pop music videos. Alright, stick with me. In K-pop, most music videos are neatly packaged within their comebacks, right? I mean, part of the reason we get all this pre-release pomp and circumstance, teasers and image drops, mood samplers, trailers for music video, is that we're given all that because they act as a form of shorthand. They are preparing an expecting audience supplemental material to the, 3-minute runtime of the actual music video. Something like the trailer for Taemin's Guilty helps the actual music video make more sense. That trailer carries a lot, I'd say most, of the actual thematic work at play within the comeback as a whole experience. The same goes for something like Le Seraphim's Easy trailer. My point is that while of course every K-pop music video is expected to be able to stand on its own as a product, just as the song on its own is expected to, most releases have a series of supporting visual material that companies want fans to engage and apply to their understanding of a comeback. In my opinion, K-pop is defined by this model of distribution, which includes the entirety of music's promotion down to the font. The visual is deeply embedded in every aspect of production, and I'd go even so far as to argue that the repeated reinforcement of sound to imagery is the defining marker of what makes K-pop K-pop. Anyway, that's just a unnecessary me-style side rant to stress that Ascendio can stand completely on its own as a narrative experience outside of any other supplemental material, including the song itself. That's deeply compelling to me for a music video that does not have spoken dialogue, that does not have major characters outside of the members, and does not have extended scenes. Although, I guess the ending is technically but like 20 seconds. Ascendio is a tight and concise production. There is no fluff or filler on this baby. It's just icing on the cake. It happens to be a magical girl story, which I am the biggest mark for ever. It was made for me. It's for me. It's mine. It's not yours. Just real quick, can I please gush about the styling happening here? Oh my god. Sorry, I just... Magical girl hype aside, something else that really captivated me about this music video is the set design. When Ive enters the magical fighting zone, the house becomes this amazing, open but limited space with only the vaguest resemblance to the real house they were just in. What's important, or what I like anyway, is that this magical realm is consistently presented to us asymmetrically. Every shot is composed with asymmetrical balance, and I love it. What an amazing way to reiterate Ascendio's peculiar themes. Overall, it's one of the more concepts I've run into, which is also really fun. Its weirdness gets a lot of points in my book. Ascendio focuses on not contradictory emotions exactly, it's more specific than that. It focuses on the allure of danger that exists in wanting to be something that is wanted, which, the time has come, is also a bit of what we saw in Deary. But here in Ascendio, there is another layer of reflection added, of being weary of giving up your autonomy, weary of your choices and actions being influenced by your desires. This song opens with a confession to a priest, for crying out loud. Like, we get it. In Latin, Ascendio can be broken down into meaning to set a light, to ignite a kindling. So again, it's not, in my opinion, a song about contradictory emotions, so that's why you have baddie Ive versus goodie Ive. It's not black, white, good, bad, love, hate. It's not about opposites. The magical space they enter is not dominated by white or black or blue or red. It's not a space balanced symmetrically through color or shape or movement. It's a space in conversation with itself. The asymmetrical composition of this magical girl fighting realm feels crucial in visually expressing the song and the narrative's off-balance push and pull between desire and self-preservation. I view Ascendio as being about wanting, be it attention, love, popularity, courage, whatever, and the moment we hinge a point of desire into action, into a spell, into reaching your fingertips out in resolve. Maybe you gain something that comes with consequences. Maybe it makes you a hero to others, but a villain to yourself. Maybe you'll get what you want, or maybe you'll just get burned. Thank you so much for watching. I hope everyone has a happy and healthy new year.